Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 114th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm great, Cameron.
Really?
More like coming to you live from election purgatory.
Well, first of all, we're not live.
True.
Second of all, yes.
Election day is yesterday. Today is Wednesday. We don't know who is president. Here we are.
No. Well, we don't know. We don't know when we'll know. I think we'll know something right about the time we're wrapping this up. A few more votes will be tallied. Either way, we'll be here talking Mizzou. So, fear not.
I wanted to see how you'd wrap that back into Mizzou sports.
No matter who is president.
We always have Missouri sports.
Unless they have a blatant anti-Mizzou agenda, then we will be here.
I hadn't thought about that.
What if, Bill Self became president?
I would not vote for him.
No. And he censored all Mizzou media. That
would be the end of us.
Be big Kansas censorship of Missouri.
He'd do it.
I could see it.
Yeah.
He'd be a tyrant. Anyway, this is the Missouri Sports Podcast. We're going to talk about the unfortunate loss to the Florida Gators. We're going to talk about that brawl. We're going to talk about Dan Mullen. We're going to pick some SEC games. But first, we've got a little bit of news, and it is a really very little bit. Mizzou basketball will open their season at home against Oral Roberts on November 25th. It's right around the corner.
I'm ready for some basketball.
21 days away. 3 weeks from tonight.
I feel like college basketball normally is starting around this time of year, maybe within the next week or so. So it's starting a little bit later than normal.
Yeah.
But it'll be here.
Yeah.
I'm just glad it seems to have... Well, we really don't have any clarity at this point. We actually just found out about the Oral Roberts game a few minutes ago. We know about that game. We know about the Bradley game, and we don't know really we don't have any other clarity on non-conference games. We
know there's not going to be a Kansas game. We hope there's an Illinois game. Do we know anything about that?
We sure hope so. I think that's all we know at this point.
We know there's not going to be any early season tournaments in Orlando. Nebraska ruined that for us. Other than that,
typical.
We know that there's going to be an SEC season.
We know we're playing TCU in the Big 12 SEC challenge.
Did you see that I think it was the Pac-12 released their conference basketball schedule?
Yes, and I think that we should be getting the SEC schedule pretty soon. I heard that it could come this week.
So they're doing it in an interesting way. I don't know if you noticed, but let's say, for example, Washington would travel to Southern California and play UCLA and USC in back-to-back games and then go home. So they're trying to kind of bunch the games up a little bit.
Like when you say back-to-back, like the same day? Or
no.
Okay.
Like those are just back-to-back opponents on the schedule.
Gotcha.
Like a Wednesday, Saturday.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then I think they're even doing Stanford goes to Washington, plays Washington 2 times in a row, both at Washington, and then plays Washington State, and then other teams will play twice in a row at Stanford and stuff like that.
It's not really ideal for the schedule, I suppose, but when you really think about the logistics of travel, that's reasonable. Yeah. At one point on this podcast, we tried to think about some COVID travel logistics with our conference realignment.
Yeah.
And it didn't go as well as the Pac-12.
Well, our conference realignment pretty much kept the Pac-12 intact.
That's true.
And basically didn't limit travel whatsoever, just at large.
Yeah.
Unless you count reducing air travel, which you did a great job of.
Oh, thank you.
With the beach conference.
Yes,
because everybody could travel by boat.
Yeah. I shouldn't have brought that up.
No.
But yeah, that it will be interesting to see if the SEC tries to do something like that. There's got to be some explanation for why we don't know what the schedule is yet. So hopefully we're finding that out soon.
As long as there's basketball, I will be happy. Kyle, Missouri lost to Florida 41-17. So they had won 2 games in a row. The fan base was feeling pretty good. I want to say Dave Matter even picked Missouri to win this game. We, on the podcast last week, both picked Missouri to lose. Maybe we're just trying to play it safe. But Florida was number 10 in the country. It was in the swamp. Do you think it would be too rude of Missouri social media when they put Como plain emoji the swamp? If they just put Como plain emoji swamp, it'd be like we're going to a swamp.
I personally feel like that would be perfectly reasonable.
Okay.
And acceptable.
And a little funny. Kind of it's a swamp. It's not the swamp. Anyway.
I'd never thought about that. I'm going to be completely honest.
Well, welcome to my brain. I don't know how we want to go about this. It started out okay. Then it got bad. Then it got weird. And then it was bad the rest of the way, pretty much. So Missouri punted on their first offensive possession, and they also punted about 50 billion times in this game. And none of the punts went more than, 17 yards.
Yeah, we were trying to watch this game together, actually. Producer Cameron, you were busy that night. That's okay. We respect your decision. But we were watching this game together at my house, and it was supposed to be on the SEC Network alternate channel, and it was just not coming on our television for the first, 10 or 15 minutes. So we missed pretty much the best part of the entire first quarter. I'm pretty sure Jalen Knox had a big run for 30-plus yards.
Not the best part. Well, the first quarter, maybe. Yeah.
Missed that. But, Missouri's offense struggled right off the bat. Couldn't get much going. But they were holding Florida in check for a while there, too, though.
Yeah. Held Florida to a field goal. Missouri punted again. But then on Florida's next possession, Missouri got a pick 6. Jarvis Ware picked one off, returned it all the way to the goal line, almost lost it. That would have been very Mizzou thing to do. Return it all the way to the goal line and then fumble it out the back of the end zone for a touchback. But he bobbled it a little bit, regained possession, and it was a touchdown. So Missouri took a 7-3 lead. That was a huge play, and after that, it was well, thank goodness we got that defensive score because the offense is doing nothing.
Yeah.
But at least the defense seems to be slowing Florida down to some extent, and held them to a couple field goals early, and things were looking okay. There was a lot of punting going on. It just seemed like Florida kind of was dominating the field position battle.
Yeah.
Neither offense really was getting a whole lot going, but Florida was starting with such a field position advantage that they only had to move the ball, 30 or 40 yards to get in field goal range and get some points on the board. Whereas Missouri was always starting deep in their own territory and, just couldn't get anything going to even get in field goal range.
Yeah, this was definitely a kind of a reality check for Missouri and really for us, I guess, because we were feeling pretty good coming out of those 2 consecutive wins. But this was also kind of a reality check, I think, for the offensive line. I think they had been playing really well this far in the season, especially given some of the circumstances they've been dealing with. They have been dealing with a few injuries and stuff off and on, but I feel like it really caught up with them this game. And Larry Borum, he missed this game. He's still going to miss a few more games. I think we were without Zeke Powell, and so they looked like they were in over their heads a little bit in this game. And Florida's got a pretty good front seven, so they looked pretty dominant, at least in that way.
Yeah, Missouri's offense couldn't really get anything going. Let's see here. Looking at the rushing numbers. 23 carries for 40 yards for the Missouri offense. And that's counting negative 16 yards for Connor Bazelak. But that's also, I mean, Tyler Beatty, 2 carries for -2 yards.
Yeah, this is a weird game for Tyler Beatty as well. I feel like he was not used very much at all. A lot less than I feel like he's been used maybe in his entire Missouri career. He was just not out there much and was not effective when he was out there.
Yep, 3 total touches for 3 total yards. And then factoring into those rushing numbers is that Kiki Chisholm, 1 rush for -15.
That was awful.
Yeah, but Larry Roundtree, nothing doing for him either. 14 carries, 36 yards, 2.6 yards per carry. Did find the end zone late. But yeah, the offense was struggling mightily. Offensive line couldn't really hold it together. Seemed like Florida was just getting through the line of scrimmage pretty much whenever they wanted. Bazelak didn't have a lot of time ever. And when he did, it just seemed like Florida was playing decent coverage on the back end. I mean, it was just a solid defensive performance all around for Florida, I would say.
Yeah, they were really tight the whole game. And Kiki Chisholm I think he was the leading receiver for Missouri in this game. He had the most targets and the most receiving yards. So I guess it's good to see him kind of get back on track. I feel like a lot of it was kind of garbage time, and they were kind of just throwing an easy pitch and catch with a few of the receivers there in the second half and just trying to get something going. But I really don't think Missouri had very many plays that went for more than 20 or 30 yards in this game. Just everything seemed very small ball the whole time. They didn't really try very much downfield outside of a...
Well, one deep shot they were going to take was the Chisholm end around where it looked like he was supposed to throw it deep to Michael Wilson. Wilson completely covered up.
Do you think he was supposed to throw that?
It kind of looked like it. I mean, and I saw, I think, Dave Matter tweeting about the fact that Chisholm was a high school quarterback. So it's, you know, he was peeling out really wide and in theory to be able to get his momentum going downfield for the pass.
Yeah.
Kind of holding it with one hand. That's what it seemed like to me. And Wilson was immediately running as fast as he could towards the end zone. But he had a defender right there with him, step for step.
It's no LSU defense, that's for sure.
No, definitely not.
Well, they attempted one other deep shot, and that was a Jalen Knox dropped pass. Yes. So that was also very painful.
Yeah.
Just nothing really worked out in this game.
We saw some hope for Missouri in this one late into the first half. Florida did finally score a touchdown. I think that put them up 13-7. And then on Missouri's ensuing possession, they fumbled the ball, gave it right back to Florida. That was a botched handoff between Bazelak and Beatty. And maybe that early mistake, if the coaching staff thought it was Beatty's fault, maybe that played into his touches down the stretch. But looked like Bazelak wanted to keep it. Yeah. And, you know, we've seen that before on sort of like those read option plays where the back and the quarterback just aren't quite on the same page.
Yeah, just some indecision. And I think Beatty thought he was getting the ball and Bazelak thought he was keeping it. And they just kind of both held on to it too long and scored it up in the air.
Yeah. And, I mean, the whole point of that type of play is the quarterback is waiting as long as he can to actually make that decision to see what the defense is doing. And that's just going to happen sometimes. I mean, we see that in the NFL when they try to run those plays, and teams that are very good at running the read option still have that mistake happen every once in a while.
When you're asking the players to literally make a decision on the spot, that can allow for mistakes like that to happen. Yeah. But if you do it right, it can be very successful. When the quarterback makes the right read and you got a quarterback with some speed.
We've seen Missouri and Bazelak run that successfully this season.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we haven't seen the last of it. Of course, with that momentum change, you know, you just almost expect the opposing team to put it in the end zone on the next play, and that's exactly what Florida did. They threw a touchdown pass to the running back right there, and then Missouri punted on their last possession of the first half. Florida actually got the ball back one last time to maybe try to get in field goal range or something. They weren't able to do that, but it was a really weird end to the first half. Obviously, we know the biggest part of it, but even before that, there was a couple penalties on Missouri that like extended the half.
Yeah.
There was the last play was an untimed down because of offsides, I think.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, this was a very slow and painful ending there to the half.
Yeah, not fun. Yeah, I mean, Florida scored that second to last touchdown with 1 minute and 41 seconds remaining in the half. And it had been a pretty quick half with, not a lot of scoring and the clock running most of the time. But then the fumble, then another touchdown, then a Missouri punt. Then the last play of the first half, Kyle Trask gets hit late. It was, you'd have to be a pretty biased Mizzou fan to say that there was nothing wrong with the play. It was definitely late, and there was no penalty.
Yeah, I think all rational people most rational people could agree. Yes, late hit. Was it dirty? No, probably not. But was it deserving of a flag? Probably. But was it worthy of a brawl? Probably not.
Absolutely not. I mean, if that play happens any other time than the last play of the first half, where teams are now away from their bench and coaches, or a coach in particular, has the opportunity to run across the field to the other team's side, closer to their bench, and start yelling at them. If it happens any other time than that, then it's pretty obvious that no brawl breaks out. But that's not what happened. So the teams were headed to the locker rooms, and Dan Mullen decided that he needed to have words with a couple Missouri players, and then it just kind of got weird from there.
Yeah, I think there was definitely some debate on whether or not he was actually talking to the Missouri players, but you can see the defensive lineman kind of walking off the field, and you can, if you really slow it down, he's clearly looking at them. They're giving him the who are you kind of look, and there's clearly some communication going on there. And he's yelling at Ryan Walters too at one point, and there it was. That was the gas on the flame that ignited everything. And I did not like Dan Mullen coming into this game. He's just a character. He just needs attention. And now that he has a pretty good team, and he has had a pretty good team, I think he likes to I don't know, man. He's just always saying something in his news conferences and stuff like that, but he's a extravagant personality, so I don't know why he felt like that was necessary, but he did. So he ran right out there.
Yeah, I mean, very clearly. I mean, obviously the benches are on the sidelines, on opposite sidelines. He was very clearly across the field towards Missouri sidelines. I believe each team can go into the locker room in their own corner of the end zone. It's not some weird situation where they're both entering the locker room on the same corner. So there's really no reason for him to be that far over there. And it definitely, from looking at the video, looks like the Mizzou players are kind of looking at him like, what's going on? And then, I mean, there was a Mizzou coach kind of in the middle of the scrum at one point that had fallen down, and there was definitely punches being thrown from both sides. And Mullen just kind of yelling at people, whoever would look at him, he was yelling at them that whole time. And finally it got separated, and then interject anywhere you feel necessary, but the head referee called both coaches over, and it looked like Eli Drinkwitz, he was very confused. He had no idea how this got started. He didn't understand quite. It didn't seem like he understood why Mullen was so angry, and he looked genuinely confused, like he was trying to make sense of everything. Mullen was fired up this entire time. The ref was explaining something to them. I'm probably just explaining to them that every player on their team now had an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. And Drinkwitz tried to walk away from that little huddle a couple times.
He got roped back.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ref is probably just saying, no, we don't want any more of this now. But, Dan Mullen's still hot. I mean, he's just going crazy.
The very last thing he did was he came out of the tunnel again and pumped up the crowd some more, like you did a good thing? I don't know. Yeah, cheer for us that we had a fight? I don't know what he's thinking there.
I have no idea, and he's just an idiot, honestly. And did you see that he came to his post game press conference dressed as Darth Vader?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I get it's Halloween and you're trying to be funny, but like your team just had a massive brawl at halftime and it's your fault.
Yeah.
And it's just like so narcissistic and like tone deaf.
Yes, tone deaf is what I was going to say.
To come out and dress like that, I just
like making a joke out of
really
it, basically.
Weird. I don't know if that was his plan before the game or not, but it's just
if you've got a costume and then something like that happens, maybe just nix the costume.
Maybe just don't wear it.
Yeah. Let's just get through this. Like, sorry.
Next game, or maybe actually next game wouldn't work. Next ring.
You might.
Next Halloween.
This year, coach, you're not going to get to wear a costume to your post-game press conference. Sorry.
Yeah.
I know it's Halloween, but this year we're going to just say no costume.
Well, he's too important to have anybody tell him, like, not this time.
There's got to be a PR person there who's just like...
Well, exactly. That either just was like, I'm not going to even interject this time. I'd hate to be his PR person. He probably doesn't even listen to you.
No.
Just steamrolls over you.
Yeah.
Does whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, he was already kind of setting himself up to not be... Oh, I'm putting this delicately. The most liked coach in the SEC when he, he's had some kind of... again, tone deaf complaints recently about the attendance at Kyle Field.
Well, he started off his press conference this week by talking about how his players weren't able to practice because of Election Day.
Yeah.
Like, oh, God forbid.
Like, seriously.
Like, he just...
read the room,
exactly.
Yeah. Man. It's like, yeah, literally all the teams are in the same boat. Like, nobody practiced yesterday to ensure that student athletes could vote. Like, is that okay, sir?
I don't know, man. Is that okay, sir? Sir? Jeez. Florida man.
Is that okay? Yeah. Living up to the stereotype. Oh, man. I guess you never want to see players fighting each other. It was, I don't know. It was frustrating that, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. I mean,
especially just the way Missouri finished the half. Dan Mullen, I already can't stand him, coming out yelling at the players, like, and igniting a brawl. Like, it was just so frustrating. And we're going to talk about the second half, but that did not go good either. This whole game was just kind of not ideal, and it was kind of rough.
Pretty much every aspect of it you want to forget pretty much immediately.
Yeah. So Dan Mullen gets fined $25,000, the same amount that Lane Kiffin gets fined last week for criticizing the refs. I haven't really thought honestly about whether or not that's a worthy penalty, but to me that just says the SEC realized that he is at fault. He is the one that started the brawl. Missouri's got 3 players that are going to miss the first half against Georgia. That's Chad Bailey, Dylan Spencer, who I believe Dylan Spencer was starting offensive line because of injuries, and then Markel Utzi, who had a pretty significant role in the D-line as well. So, but considering everything that went down, I really thought that we could see some worse suspensions than that. So I feel like Missouri's fairly fortunate to only have 3 guys missing a half against Georgia after that mess.
I'm reading the ESPN article that is kind of detailing the SEC's reaction to the whole thing. And this part, this was written by Heather Dinich, ESPN senior writer. This part I found interesting. Quote, Mullen said his players believed they were acting in defense of quarterback Kyle Trask, thinking the hit he suffered on the final play of the first half was unfair. They're going to protect him, Mullen said. That's their guy. He added, everybody was a little edgy and probably went a little too far with it.
Again, did he ever take responsibility for his actions in this whole thing at any point? Again, he's kind of like blaming his players for the brawl almost in that statement.
He's saying,
well, he's blaming Missouri's players, but he's also
Missouri's players, and then our Florida players justifiably were upset.
Yes.
And I mean, I wish we could have seen maybe a wider angle of the very beginning of the altercation, because really all you see is Mullen yelling, and then a little bit further towards like the locker room side is where it all the actual fighting breaks out. I wish we could have seen what was happening a little bit further down while Mullen was yelling. But I don't know. It just seems like if Mullen is way out there, like trying to get his guys to just go to the locker room, if he's got his back turned to the Missouri bench, escorting his guys back, then I'm praising him right now for doing a good job.
Yeah.
And I always think it's kind of funny that when players or coaches are trying to like break up a fight or get guys away from each other, they're always like facing the opposition and like telling them to get back. And you can tell when guys are like really trying to help the situation because they're facing their own team and just have their back to the opposition and telling their guys to get back.
Yeah. I kind of feel like nobody should ever have to hold like a head coach back, like in that kind of situation. Like I feel like that's almost always a bad look if your like random analysts and like assistant coaches or even players are having to hold you back from continuing to make the scene a disaster. And that was what was happening.
I was just talking last week about a YouTube video I watched of like college football coaches behaving badly. And now this is going to be the highlight.
Yep.
This is going to be the main attraction of another one of those videos.
Yep.
And Dan Mullen was already present quite a bit in the video I already watched.
Yeah, this is not the first time that he's done something like this.
I still kind of crack up at Drinkwitz's reaction. Like he's even like got his hand, like one hand in his pocket part of the time, and he's just like got his hand like up, like, what?
Yeah.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah. I mean, which almost kind of seemed like the Missouri players' reaction initially too, was just like trying to figure out why they were being screamed at by the opposing coach.
Yeah, and we talked about while it was happening the fact that it may have been a huge blessing that Drinkwitz didn't actually see Mullen instigating anything, because if he had, then he might have been pretty fired up and aggravated.
Yeah.
And so he had, just from the fact that he wasn't aware exactly, he had the ability to just genuinely not know.
Yeah.
And then probably worked out better for him in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess one last note on this, but I just feel like he handled himself very, very well. Coach Drinkwitz, I think, even in the post game, he was saying like nobody wants this. Like this is a bad look, and I feel like he understood the magnitude, and he understood how to handle the situation. And Dan Mullen showed up as Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So
yeah, did the opposite.
Yeah.
And the waving back to the fans at the end was like kind of like the icing on the cake for me. Back to the actual football game. Luckily, there was no further altercation the rest of the game, so good on them for that. Florida comes out right after halftime, scores another quick touchdown to go up 27-7. Missouri punts on their next two possessions. Florida scores again to make it 34-7. And it's basically garbage time at that point. I think Florida did put in backup quarterback late. Missouri eventually got a field goal. Harrison Mevis? What are we saying?
I don't care.
What are we saying on this podcast? You choose.
I think you really like Mevis, so we can go with that.
That's
what you like to gravitate towards.
Yeah. Have I given my explanation?
I don't think so.
Pronounce M-E-V.
Mev, which is not a word.
I know.
But still makes sense.
That's where I'm coming from. I realize pronounce M-E. Yeah, I get that. I don't know. I'll look it up. I'll just look it up.
I
think I've already said that.
I really have no idea what his name is.
He missed a field goal
early.
Maybe they just wanted to get some confidence instilled in the young man. I am still confident in his kicking abilities. despite him missing a field goal in the first half. He did make a field goal, and then Missouri got a kind of a garbage time touchdown, but it was a nice little drive, 11 plays, 75 yards. Roundtree got it in the end zone. And yeah, we ended up with a final score of 41-17.
Yeah, it was good for Mevis Harrison M to make a field goal, see it go through the uprights later in the game. I think that it was even a situation where they could have gone for it, but they just let him kick to get his confidence back. It's good that we were able to kind of pioneer a successful drive at the end of this kind of disaster of a game. There really isn't a lot of takeaways from the second half. Kadarius Toney is a really, really good player for Florida. I respect him as a player. I mean, he was fantastic. Missouri's couldn't tackle. Their defense was not great in this game, and I mean, Florida is a really tough task, but they could not make tackles. That's somewhere they really need to improve there, and that's something that I feel like Missouri has done well at times this season. But
yeah, the tackling
just wasn't there.
No, I looked up the pronunciation guide.
Okay, let's hear it. It's
Mevis.
And how do you know? Like, is this the Missouri?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, don't ever say Mevis again, or else you're fired.
MUTigers.com. Thank you. And I think that's the way the announcers have been saying it, so I should have learned because they're looking at the pronunciation guide.
Well, they're not always right. But.
Yeah, it was disappointing to see the offense just completely fall flat after, winning in two completely different ways in the previous two games. Bazelak threw the ball 40 times, 1.7 yards per attempt.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good. Does this game change your outlook on the season whatsoever?
Sorry, I was looking at the rushing totals. He threw the ball 40 times, 5.2 yards per attempt. 1.7 is that's a little low.
I was going to say, like,
5.2 yards per attempt,
awful.
200 yards,
okay.
No touchdowns, no interceptions.
Does this game change your outlook at all for the season?
Well, let's talk about that. Missouri is halfway through the season. They're 2-3, losses to Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, wins against LSU and Kentucky.
Yeah.
They still play Georgia, South Carolina, Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt. I kind of like that schedule down the stretch.
Yeah.
I feel like there's 4 winnable games there.
Yeah, the first half of the schedule is a gauntlet, and we knew that coming into it. This game was disappointing, considering what we had just done the previous 2 games, coming off 2 wins and all of the good things that we had said on this podcast the last 2 weeks.
I think if Florida just doesn't lose to A&M and they're top 5 in the country,
I legitimately think they are a top 5 team in the country potentially. But yeah, so it was disappointing. But to think about where we were before the season started, to think about how things have gone, I'm still thrilled with where we are. And we always knew that there was going to be some bumps in the season, and where we were hopefully going to see some growth, and it shouldn't have been surprising to anybody.
Well, that's what I was about to say. If you want really to hear me settle for mediocrity, actually being disappointed in this result is actually kind of a good thing, because preseason, if you tell me Florida beats Missouri 41-17, I'm like, well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And would you be disappointed in that? No, not really. That's exactly what I would expect.
Yeah.
Now, the only reason I expected more than that is because this team has impressed a little bit lately.
Right. Yeah, we're far beyond where I thought we would be at this point in the season. So, and it's tough because we've got a bye week, and then we play Georgia, who's just as good or better than Florida. So, Georgia may present a better opportunity for a closer game than Florida did, just because I think Florida's offense is a lot better than Georgia, but it's still going to be – that's still an incredibly difficult game, so It may not get better for a little bit.
Yeah, Florida and Georgia play this week, right?
Yeah.
So that'll be one to watch.
That's a big game.
Maybe we can learn something
going
into the Florida
SEC
going into the Georgia
East
game.
Championship, pretty much.
Yeah. Man.
We got to pick that game later.
Yeah.
I was about to ask you your prediction, but that would have been against the rules.
Yeah. Save it. I think Florida's good. We'll have to We'll be thinking about that.
Kyle Trask, Heisman conversation.
Yeah. Weird. That's weird to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope, I don't know. I could see Missouri's they've got to be more consistent on offense in the last 4 games of the season.
Yeah.
We've seen the offense be incredible. We've seen the offense be literally unable to do anything. We've seen both extremes. So
Need that O-line to get healthy.
yeah,
That's the key, I think.
That'll be a big part of it. Yeah, I think the weapons are there. They don't even need the offensive line to be incredible. They just need them to be healthy and be serviceable. All right. Is that all you got to say about that Florida game? I'm ready to put it behind us.
I was just about to say, I'm ready to move on from that.
All right. There's no game to preview this week. Next week, they play Georgia. Another big game. And then the schedule sets up nicely for maybe several wins there.
Or horrible disappointments.
Yes.
But it should be a really fun second half of the year. I'm really looking forward to seeing a little bit lighter schedule. You know, it's fun to see Missouri play against, Alabama and Georgia, but in some ways, I guess, just because it's fun to see Missouri go against incredible talent and, legendary coaches and stuff like that. But it's also really fun just to see them win.
Yeah. You remind me, preseason you predicted 5 wins.
Yeah.
That's on the table. It's definitely on the table.
They should. I think it would be disappointing if they didn't get to 5 wins at this point.
Don't set yourself up for disappointment Kyle.
I mean, would you be disappointed if they didn't get 2 wins out of like Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt?
Well, 2 wins would only have them at 4.
Yes.
So I'm saying that's okay. I'm saying that would not be too terribly disappointing compared to the beginning of the season.
I'm saying, would you be disappointed if they didn't get to 2 wins out of those 3?
If they didn't, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had them at 3 wins preseason. So even though I like where they're at now better than I did in the preseason, I don't want to get my hopes too high.
They're getting to 5.
I don't want to get my hopes too high.
They're getting to 5. You can book it. Blood bank guarantee. Right, producer Cameron?
Right.
Don't bet any money on that. Don't bet any money on that, listeners.
They're about to win the bye week this week too, so that's another win in my book.
Yeah, your book only, unfortunately, not the record books.
You're always trying to talk about the record books.
All right, producer Cameron, are we picking some games? Did I make up any ground last week?
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right. So last week, Cameron, you gained 5 points. Kyle gained 4 points. So Kyle's 3-point lead is now 2 points. Kyle has 27. Cameron has 25.
Great
going
job.
into week 7.
We're coming for you.
So
Oh yeah. Me, my whole crew.
Me, myself, and I.
Yep.
Okay, so first game is number 8 Florida at number 5 Georgia.
Oh, you just did that one right off the bat, didn't you?
You're supposed to save that.
That's okay.
That's supposed to be the grand finale.
I just did it in the order ESPN had them. Sorry.
What?
Is that in the morning?
Surely not.
Prime time?
Let me check.
That's okay. We'll talk about it while you check.
Georgia is a 3.5-point favorite.
Where is it being played? Sorry, I'm doing a really good job of listening.
At Georgia.
How did
Florida, at Georgia at 2:30 p.m.
How did Florida lose
CBS?
to A&M? Yes.
How did they do that? Fluke.
How did they do that?
It was a fluke.
Who are you picking in this game?
What's Georgia? Interesting.
Okay, I picked Florida to win the East at the beginning of the season.
Me too.
I got to stay on brand. I got to pick Florida.
Picking the upset.
Yeah. Florida's, man, they're just so well-rounded. And Georgia's offense has really struggled. Georgia only scored 14 points against Kentucky last week.
True. Beat Tennessee 44-21.
True.
This will be a good one. I guess. I want to go against you. I'm gonna pick Florida with you. Got to do it.
I'm a little bit relieved.
I won't enjoy rooting for Florida in that matchup, though. I wouldn't enjoy rooting for either of those teams, but considering...
Do you dislike Dan Mullen more than Tom Herman?
No. Pretty even, though.
Yeah. He's getting up there for me.
Yeah. I mean, we all know your history, the two of you.
Tom Herman and I, oh yes.
Yeah. You go way back.
Me and the entire Texas fan base and players, yes.
But you've got how many other fan bases on your side? Oklahoma, Notre Dame,
Ohio State. All of these fan bases have come to my aid. So
I made a slight miscalculation.
Oh, okay, let's hear it.
I didn't give you credit for the upset pick, so you're actually only 1 point behind Kyle.
What upset pick?
Well, yeah, what did I pick?
Auburn over LSU.
I gotta stop picking against Auburn. They're looking.
Oh yeah,
they're looking decent.
So
they're back,
it's
folks.
27-26.
Ooh.
Kyle's lead.
Well, in that case, I'm picking Florida.
Just making sure.
All right.
Okay, game 2 is Vanderbilt at Mississippi State.
Oh, good lord!
Mississippi State is a 19-point favorite.
What? 19.
19.
All right, give me the favorites. Mississippi State.
I am honestly surprised. I mean, that is a massive spread. But
Vanderbilt bad.
They must be. I'm picking Mississippi State, I guess. I hate doing that.
Game 3
I'll give you 5 points if you pick Vanderbilt and they win.
I can't.
Game 3 is number 7, Texas A&M at South Carolina. Texas A&M is a 10-point favorite.
Mike Bobo lets me down no matter how I pick here.
Mike Bobo was heroic for me earlier this year when they beat Auburn, but I got to pick A&M.
Yeah, me too.
Game number 4 is Tennessee at Arkansas. Tennessee is a... Just a second. It's either 1.5 or 15.
Oh, my God.
It's probably 1.5.
Oh, man. Well.
Where's this game being played again? At Arkansas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make it easy for you, Kyle. I'm picking Arkansas.
Dang it. I was about to pick Arkansas.
You can pick them.
We'll agree on every single pick.
Arkansas's got it going on.
Yeah, I got.
Yeah, it's
Arkansas.
1.5.
1.5.
Sorry, everyone. We picked the exact same games.
We both pick Arkansas.
Both going for the upset.
Yeah, but it means nothing if we
Big
both get
upset.
it.
Okay, and Nebraska plays this week.
They do?
Again.
Big
They
Ten?
are back again, I guess.
Big Ten's playing football.
Something.
Mike Frost.
Let's hear it.
And that's it. That's all we got today.
Who are they playing?
Nebraska is at Northwestern. Northwestern is a 4-point favorite.
Oh, my.
Who? Northwestern. All right.
Give me Nebraska. I know Kyle doesn't want to pick them.
Oh God.
That's a free 2 points for me.
Give me Northwestern.
Let's go. Taking the lead.
I had to pick. We had to disagree on something.
Mm-hmm. That's why I got that Nebraska pick in there quick.
I forgot they had a football team. I forgot they were playing.
Yeah. How about Trevor Lawrence going to be out against Notre Dame?
They're gonna lose.
They almost lost against whoever that was. Boston College?
Not Georgia Tech.
Yeah. No, they didn't almost lose to them. Yeah.
Yeah, bye week this week. Prepare for Georgia. Coach Drink's good on a bye, off a bye.
On or off, I've heard.
Yeah, that too.
Try do something. Get that memory of the Florida game out of your head.
Yeah, hate you, Dan Mullen.
Yeah.
I think that pretty much covers it.
Yeah. It honestly feels like the Florida game was a month ago because
It
of all the
somehow
election
does.
stuff.
Yeah. That was only like 3 days ago.
That's pretty crazy.
Oof.
Wow.
All right, everybody. Let's wrap this thing up. You can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcast. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can get t-shirts and stickers on our shop at MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll see you next week.